Douglas Clayton is bullish on Cambodia. The CEO of Hong Kong-based Leopard Capital launched Cambodia's first ever private equity fund in 2008 and finished raising $34 million in capital this year. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, briefly, your bullish case for Cambodia, a couple of factors. It's 100% open to foreign investors, a young population, stable government. So those are some of your bullish underlying factors. Where exactly are you putting your money?
We like to invest in bringing goods and services to rural people that never had them, whether that's banking services or electricity or internet or jobs, food processing industries. So this is an area that is underinvested, and people in the rural areas, they now have money and they're ready to buy things.
You plan to actually monetize your investments once the Cambodian stock exchange is up and running, right?
Yes.
And how will you do that?
The stock exchange should be open by the end of the year, and they're in need of listed companies. So the companies we invest in will be good candidates to list because they'll be transparently managed with audited accounts and tax compliant. So we hope over the next 2 or 3 years we can list some companies there.
There's been a holdup in getting the stock exchange going, though, right?
They've needed to pass about 30 laws, and so it's a big event, but they're working through those now.
I want to ask you actually about the transparency factor, because that's something that comes up quite a bit with frontier market investing. Transparency by Western standards might be a little different than what you look for in frontier markets. How do you balance that?
We tend to invest at an earlier stage than many investors, so we build transparency into the companies from the beginning in many cases.
Now, Cambodia's been experiencing double-digit economic growth. It did have a setback in the global economic crisis like a lot of other countries. Are you anticipating a return to that level of growth rate anytime soon?
We expect 4% GDP growth this year, so it'll be a moderate recovery. But the key thing with Cambodia, its external debt to GDP is only 32%. So it's unlike the developed world where they have huge debt burdens to work out. In Cambodia's case, it should be able to get back to double-digit growth within a few years.
So that helps you in terms of better investments, safer investments?
It'll certainly help with our exits because we'll be in a more vibrant economy and more foreign investment coming in by then.
You talked about getting services to rural people. I know you've invested in a microfinance institution there on the financial side of things. Tell me a little bit about that.
We've invested in Aklida Bank, which started out as a microfinance institution, and now it's become a rural bank. It's one of the real success stories of Cambodia. It's now becoming a multinational, going into Laos, and it's had a long history, and it's the only bank with a nationwide presence. So this is quite a profitable business.
And it's interesting, we should probably explain the microfinance industry is unique in that you're lending small amounts, but the profit margins are very high. The repayment rates are much, much higher than regular financial institutions.
Yes, often the lending rate for microfinance is as high as 3% every month. But it's cheaper than the alternatives, and the customers are able to pay because they're only usually borrowing for a few months at a time.
And in terms of microfinance, is it a full-service organization? Is it banking? Is it also insurance, which is another big area that people are moving into? Insurance
is still at a very early stage in Cambodia, so this is primarily a bank, an old-fashioned bank that does what banks in America used to do 100 years ago until they learned other tricks.
How stable is the political landscape in Cambodia right now?
It's one of the most stable countries in the region. They've had the same prime minister essentially for over 20 years, and he looks like he'll be in power for at least another 10 years. So the policies never change, the ministers never change, so we consider it a very stable place.
Now, it's interesting to note some high-profile investors are on your board, Jim Rogers, Mark Faber. How active are they in terms of making investment decisions?
They're busy people, but their value is that they recognize that the frontier markets are a good place to invest, and they help spread the word around the world.
All right, Douglas Clayton of Leopard Capital. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. I'm RHONDA Schaffler. This is Reuters.